Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich. All right, welcome to a video. This is going to be fun. So I'm going to say right going into this, I had to scrap my first version of this video. I was so disappointed because it was great. But I had my microphone sitting on my desk, and the whole time the mouse was making so much noise. Oh my God. It was a train wreck. So here we are, trying it again. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to look at Youngblood. I originally was going to look at Chris Samnee, Batman and Robin, and I just, at the last second, I was like, I kind of want to do something fun, and I had flipped through this morning, and it was such an unusual issue, and it brought back a lot of memories, and it just felt right. So I decided to go with this, but this is actually surprisingly good. And I don't mean that in like a negative way. What I'm saying is it's a pretty well drawn issue, and it's really fun. Fun to look at. The inks are great. The colors are awesome. And it was kind of an unusual story. And I'll get into it as we get going. So anyway, here's the cover. So it's penciled by Rob Liefeld, inked by Jonathan Sabal, and colored by Kiko. And it's interesting. He has After Anderson. Now, I'm not 100% sure who that refers to, but it's a really cool cover, and the colors are great on it. So anyway, but yeah, it's nice. All right, so let's get into the book. I actually put my mic on a mic stand, which I don't normally do, but we'll give it a shot. All right, so here's the credits. So we've got Kiko Taganishi on colors, and Kurt Hathaway did the lettering. Liefeld on pencils. Eric Stevenson is the editor and script, and then Danny Mickey and Jonathan Sabal are the inks, and it's badass. Danny Mickey and Jonathan are great. Liefeld is obviously incredibly iconic. Eric Stephenson, I'm not sure. I don't believe I've ever met him. I've seen him in person a couple of times, but I don't think I've ever met him. I'm nearly sure he's still like a high up guy, if not like one of the top people at Image. I could be mistaken, but I think that's right. So this is July 1994. I'm going to say this is about a year after I started collecting comics. I had a little bit of a break. I started collecting sometime in 93. I think around May. It was, I think maybe Spawn issue 3 had just come out. Around there. There was like most of the Image books had a couple of issues out. And a friend of mine had started collecting Image comics, and he called me and was like, "Man, you got to check out this stuff. I think you'll really like it." So I started collecting, but there was a little bit of a gap, and I started working professionally in 95. So that's like how quick I went from sort of not even being really around comics at all to really within about 16 months becoming a professional, which is really crazy. On top of the fact that I took a break for like 8 to 10 months, at some point in between starting and get going pro, so it's pretty wild. But when I saw comics, I immediately fell in love with them, and on top of it, I really believed that I could do it. There was something inside me that said, you could totally do this. I mean, I remember literally hearing that in my head when I saw it. I was like, and it wasn't like, I didn't think it was going to be easy or anything like that. But when I saw it, I was like, this is something that I think I could actually do. So anyway, again, great colors on this. There's a couple of funny things that I pointed out, on this page that are interesting. And obviously the pose is, a classic Liefeld, kind of thing, but it's really interesting is like check out the lighting that he does on the pouches, because I was just talking about something else. I think I was talking about these things on his back, but the pouches are all lit almost exactly the same way, and then even up here they're really lit identically. Like almost every pouch is kind of getting the same sort of like light treatment. What I said in the other video was sometimes people will get criticized about that, or like artists when they're earlier in their career, or even sometimes in moving into, they've been professional for a little while, they'll go like, oh, like so and so draws all their faces the same, or something along those lines. In comics, that's not necessarily a negative thing across the board, because the one thing that you have to become good at is consistency. If every time you draw a single character it looks different, that can be problematic. And then getting stuff down where you can do, one pretty, girl face or one handsome guy face, it goes a long way, and you can always expand from there. But you kind of need to get that stuff down like that. And so the same goes for like lighting things. If you're trying to learn to draw right now, learning just kind of like some generic lighting that sort of works on a few things, you can ride that for a while. I mean, eventually you'll get kind of frustrated probably with yourself and want to move into other things that are different. But it definitely fills the space for the time being. So this was great too. So I was totally checking out, and it's funny. Wow, that's really weird. So Chunky Monkey. So that's a Ben and Jerry's flavor. I think they even still have it. But Jim Lee used to go by Chunky Monkey for a little while. So that must have been a super hot flavor. That's hysterical. I literally didn't notice that the first time I was watching the video. But what I did find was funny is I was kind of going through this, and I saw this, and I thought, is that a jug of Tanqueray? Oh no, it's like Sprite. I thought it like looked like a little handle. The hot dog was funny because it had like mustard on it, and I was like assuming this is probably like a cake of some sort. We got brownies. I like that he's got pre-made sandwiches. There's like raw chicken, which is kind of weird. I don't know what this is right here. I don't know if that's a piece of fruit. That almost looks like a burrito wrapped in aluminum. The hamburger is funny because it's got 2 bites out, but this was really random. So he's got 1 can of V8 juice that's open here, which is a little weird. And then there's 1 juice box that has a straw in it. I thought that was really funny. I don't know why, but just it's like very random. It's very Rob to do that. Like he's got a weird sense of humor, and it's kind of a trippy guy. The Snickers bar I thought was funny too, but yeah, it's a fun page. So why this book stood out to me, kind of when I was collecting comics and I got this, was it was really the first time that I had seen. We can actually just go in full screen mode. It was the first time I'd ever seen a comic with the characters kind of taking like a day off. Now there is action that happens in this issue, but it sort of dealt with their downtime. And again, you have to understand at this point I had been collecting comics for just a few months, and so I didn't. My experience was only based on what I had seen. Maybe at that point I might have had, I don't know, say if I bought 20 books a week, 80. I might have somewhere between 400 or 500 comics. I don't remember how aggressively I was buying, but maybe 1,000 books. It sounds like a lot, but I mean, back then there was so much stuff coming out, and you could go through back issue bins and get books pretty cheap, like Old Punisher, War Journal. I remember I bought a run of The Thing. Like The Thing had his own series at some point, probably in the 80s, and I'm trying to remember if it was like 60 issues or 70 issues. They had almost the whole run, and I was like, well, how bad can this be? For $1 a book or 50 cents a book, whatever it was. I bought them all. Jonah Hex was another book that I bought tons of back issues of. What else? I don't know. There was so much coming out at the time. This is great. I like the dynamics of this. I think it's a really exciting page just in general, like the way that it kind of zooms in and his mask sort of shows his face. And like this seems like it might be kind of easy to do, maybe, but honestly, like I've tried to do stuff like this, like a big head like this. It's not as easy as it looks. Like Rob makes it look really easy and very kind of like, oh yeah, you just do this. But things can look weird real quick if you don't have everything placed correctly and everything kind of going the way that it is. So, it's really, really nice. Actually, the tilt on this, the middle face is really nice too. Like the way that he's got sort of like the slant of the mouth is really cool. Okay, we got this. Kill. Is this overkill? I wasn't sure who the character was the last time I looked through the video, and I didn't look it up, but I think this is Overkill. Overkill? Was this the character that him and Todd created on the Stan Lee video? When remember like they like drew a character and then someone joked and like said a name and then they both kind of like I think ended up like owning it or having a character with the same name, something like that. There's more depth to this video than the original one. But yeah, so this, like with them skiing, like I hadn't really ever seen characters taking time off in a comic before. So this always stood out to me as like, ooh, this is kind of fun. It's like a little different. Like I felt like I was seeing a part of their lives, you know, besides them just fighting in like tech tunnels with like a guy in a suit, you know, telling them that the end of the world is coming because space aliens from Wildcats are going to kill them. And I mean, again, this is all really, really, really nicely drawn. It's nicely drawn. It's really, really great inks. You know, there's some crazy stuff going on, but this is solid like '90s comic art. It's got all the bells and whistles, beautiful. I don't know where these panel borders originated from, like who did them first, but Wills Portacio and Scott Williams would do them on Wetworks. But yeah, they're great and they look fantastic. Like the way that they inked them is just spot on. This is nice. Yeah, so Jonathan Sabal is, you know, maybe a little less known than Danny Mickey, or maybe a lot over years, just because Danny has worked on so many high-profile artists and books and stuff like that. But both of them are fantastic inkers. So, you know, I didn't really like super analyze each page, but they work together well. I've seen worse. You know, where there's multiple inkers on a book and you can really tell the difference. But flipping through this the time before and then doing it now, it's pretty seamless. Now I don't know if, you know, maybe one of them did like a lot of the book, so that's why it's not as noticeable, but their two styles seem to mix together really good. This is interesting too. I had pointed this out. So the color scheme on this page reminded me a lot of Bart Sears' Brutes and Babes. So Brutes and Babes used a lot of this like kind of burgundy or this sort of raw red umber kind of color with the red and the yellows and the oranges. And then even this kind of greenish blue color on the costume reminds me a little bit of like the skin. So it was kind of interesting seeing this because this page just doesn't look anything like a Bart Sears page really, but the colors kind of reminded me a little bit of his work. Funny how that can happen. Okay. And we got more fighting and skiing. It's cool. So I'd mentioned in the other video too, so I had an idea for an online comic that I was going to do on Instagram, and I had kind of bounced it off of Shelby Robertson not too long ago. But yeah, I don't think I told him what the concept of the book was. I had two or three ideas I was playing with. But I have a thing that I wanted to do called 1992, which is basically like a comic version of comics, meaning that like it's like kind of it's not like some of the collected comics that it's not like a story about a comic collector that goes into a comic and becomes like a superhero. But what it is it's like my memories of what 90s comics were like put into one universe. So it would be like my take on like what, you know, the Image comics, like what Spawn was like to me, what Wildcats was like, what Cybernary was like, and kind of my favorite memories of that put into like an Earth 2 scenario. So it wouldn't be like, the character wouldn't be Spawn, but I could tell Spawn-like stories, and it gives me an opportunity because I like to work in a lot of different styles and experiment with art a lot. It would give me the opportunity to kind of play in a very nostalgic part of my collecting, because I mean, you know, I collected Shadow Man and Archer and Armstrong. I was collecting Bill Sienkiewicz and John J. Muth. I was into, you know, everything. I've said this in the past, but you know, if I go to a comic book store on New Comic Day, I will literally flip through every single new comic that comes out, and I don't care what company or artist or whatever it is, if something looks interesting to me, I would always pick it up. So with that, my collection is really, really varied, and I like, all different styles of art. There's really, if it's done well and it's interesting, and usually I key in on artists that can create a sense of space in their work, that there's like a 3D quality to the actual drawings, and like shape design, like those seem to pull me in. And then just, obviously if someone's a real good artist, you see it. But yeah, so I thought that might be kind of fun, but the logistics of doing it on Instagram are limiting because of that little square format. And I know you can kind of play with it, but it's also very small. And I mean, the idea of someone looking at comic book pages like this big on their phone, it's a lot of work to go through that. I mean, obviously I could collect it at some point, but the main point was, for years, this goes back 15 years, I've wanted to do a free ongoing comic story online. It's just something that I want to do. And I'm at the point in my life where, like, if it's something that I've wanted to do for that long, I should really do it. I had told that to someone at Wildstorm years ago. It was a guy that worked in production, and he wanted to draw comics. And I had finally kind of gotten, I mean, I'd been inking professionally for a while, but I'd gotten some traction with my pencils, and I was getting better at it. I was practicing on a more regular schedule, and I said to him, because he had a lot of potential. I've talked about him before. I don't want to say his name because he never really did follow through with it. But he would draw at lunch, and so over a period of a week or two, he would finish a pinup, and he did a couple of pinups, and they were pretty good. Like, you could definitely tell, like, if he drew more, he would have gotten really good. Like, he had like a little bit of an X factor in his stuff that made it kind of better, like, is kind of something that you can't really learn, that he had naturally. And I said to him, I go, if you really want this, I go, you might as well just go for it now, because that desire will never go away, based on my own life experience of being into things and being excited about something. If you really want to do something and like a year or two goes by and you still really want to do it, just do it, because 10 years from now, you're still really going to want to do it. 15 years from now, you're still really going to want to do it. And at that point, if you would have just done it, you'd already have been doing it for 5 or 10 years. You know what I mean? So just do it. That was on my Starbucks coffee yesterday. Just do it. It's the universe. The universe is telling me and telling me to tell you, just do it. All right, so we got Naked Troll. He's not one of my favorite Liefeld creations. I would like him more if he didn't have the glasses. I never liked the glasses. I feel like eyes are really important to a character. I've never analyzed why I don't like him, but it is the glasses, and I think it's you can't. There's no personality if you can't see something's eyes, and I think the only way that it really works well is if you have something that's scary. Scary things cannot have eyes, and it sort of works because there's a mystery to it. There's an unknown. There's a psychological distance that creates. But if you want to have a lovable character and you can't see their eyes, I'm not positive that works as well. So maybe that's why Troll failed. No. All right. This is a great pose. I said it in another video, but I really, really like this pose. I like the scarf coming off the screen. I think this is a great panel. And it's just fun to see Badrock snow skiing and having a little time off from his superhero duties. At this point, he's 7 or 8 issues into the book, plus I think the Youngblood miniseries was maybe 3 issues, something like that. But yeah, he deserved. This is a well-deserved. Well, yeah, you figure if it's July of '94, the book had been coming out for a little over a year, and Rob, all things considered, was actually fairly productive. Silvestri, I think. Silvestri and Keown kind of ended up being the slowest of the original creators. I didn't follow Valentino as closely, but I think Jim was putting out books. Eric was real good with Savage Dragon. Todd was on it with Spawn. Jim was a little more hit and miss, but overall, Jim I think was very productive on Wildcats. This is great. Nice panel. Colors again are really excellent. This is a great panel. Man, it's a really nice shot. Rob's forms are really good, man. Like this is the thing too that like anyone that draws can appreciate it. These gestures are not stiff. Like he really, there's no stiffness in this pose. This is not stiff. Like it's not that easy to do. You know, you can draw stuff like this and it can really just look kind of boring. And it's real subtle what changes it, but like this is nice. Again, great inks. The inks are just perfect on this book. The lettering is really good. It's a real nice issue. Now I'm not you can't compare this to like you know, an Alex Ross painted book or whatever you consider like the gold standard of comics, but this is a fun book. The whole point of this was something fun, something lighthearted, a break from your modern routine. It's a big couch. She's either real small or like that's a very large cushion. This too, right? I guess that could work. It'd be pretty cozy. You could definitely sleep on that couch. I like this too, the open panel. I normally when I see panels like this, I kind of prefer the angle twisted just the tiniest bit. I always think it works a little better this way. Obviously, the perspective and stuff would need to be changed, but the straight up and down doesn't work for me as good because it's a weird way to send someone out of a page, like going straight down. Because normally, and I pointed this out in other comics, you'll have like Bill Sienkiewicz for some reason, he'll sweep his pages this way. The final panel will always have kind of motion, not always, many times though. When I've looked at his work and discussed it, I'll notice that he sweeps the pages out this way. A lot of artists more artists sweep it out to the right, since in American comics, you know, the next page we're going to read is generally going that way. But yeah, sending someone straight down out of a page, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But, you know, he's Rob Liefeld. He can do what he wants. He's a million times more successful than I've ever been. All right, we got Fat. What is this guy's name? Shaft? I think it's Shaft, right? Again, it's not stiff, though. The pose, even though he's just standing there, it's got a lot of flow to it. This is funny. He's got his ice cream bar. Nice chunky arms. Again, the inks are definitely on point. Here's him eating. This is the follow-up. Oh, sorry, we're not going in order. My apologies. I meant to mention that before, but yeah, the files are just like kind of a random thing, but I should get better at that. I'll next video I'll fine tune that, make sure that we look at the files in order. Oh, and that's it. All right, so look, you guys have a great day. The other video that I did, I honestly was better, but the audio was so bad. There's just no way that I could have. I couldn't let it go through. You'd hear my hand hitting the desk with the mouse, like kind of. It was just constant. So it was a bummer. But yeah, everyone have a great day. I'm gonna try to come back and do regular videos again. So it may not be flawless, but my intention is that within the next, you know, say month, to be on a fairly regular schedule. I don't have time on Sunday to do live Super Fun Sundays right now. That's definitely not coming soon, but hopefully just having videos up will be fun and something exciting. And you know, if I can plan something with Kelsey during the week or something like that, like I might be able to do like some shorter like live streams. So we'll see. I mean, nothing's off the table. I haven't talked to Kelsey in a while, but hopefully he's doing well. I don't really follow comic stuff on YouTube, so it's just one of those things. Like, you know, I draw and I do comics and I love art more than anything, but I like it's such a personalized hobby for me that like it's like I'll get into something just based on randomness. Like I bought a Disney art of book a couple of months ago that was like it's a Taschen book. It's huge. It's like 2 feet wide by like a foot. I think it's like 12 by 27, something like that. It's huge. Um, and I think it's Disney from like 1927 to like 1963. But you know, there's no real rhyme or reason for what I'm into. But like online, I only really follow music stuff. You know, singing, guitar, that kind of stuff. I really don't follow any comic or pop culture stuff. So you know, it's just I feel out of the loop almost like in a bad way, but it is what it is. It's I you know, I don't know. So I love the hobby. I sometimes will watch Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I haven't in a while, but like towards the end of last year, I was watching a lot of like D&D content on YouTube, just listening to it as background noise when I would work. But you know, I nerd out on all this stuff for sure, but it goes in waves. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine that I used to be in a band with, and I was saying that like I do it with music too, where like I'll get really into like a band, but now because you can access like literally everything the band has done on YouTube or YouTube Music or whatever, you know, listening platform you're on, you know, by 5 or 6 days, I've like listened to 50 hours of the band, listened to every interview. I'm like, it's like, oh, that was a fast, like, this is my new favorite band. It's going to change everything in my life. And then, you know, 2 weeks later, I'm into like something else. So I don't know. It could be my personality, but I'm sure some of you guys experience it, or it's a relatable conundrum. But yeah, I don't know, you know, maybe because I draw so much that it's like I want something different, just so that my whole day doesn't feel like it's only isolated to art or like that kind of stuff. So anyway, but all right, look, you guys have a great day. You know, no need to rush over to like any of my social media, but I will definitely let everyone know and keep everyone posted on that 1992 idea, because I really want to do it. I really want to do a free comic for online that eventually will get collected. So I mean, it's like my point being is I want to tell a story online and have like have that experience of like kind of like the comics like in the newspaper, where you'd get like a strip every day or like every weekend, you know, there would be like an installment. I think that that's really cool. It just seems fun. It just, I don't know, it seems like something fun to do, so I want to do it. So many things I want to do. This is what did my cup say? It said just do it. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.